Akira Toriyama's comedic side shines through in Dr. Slump, a gag manga full of quirky humor, cartoonish characters, and playful inventions. Toriyama poured more meticulous effort into Dr. Slump's art and comedy than he later would into the intense fights of Dragon Ball. Long before Goku went Super Saiyan, Toriyama was creating silly adventures around Aurelie, a robot girl in Penguin Village, reflecting on the lighthearted, creative style he truly loved. He has often expressed a greater fondness for this kind of comedic storytelling and world building than for serious battle narratives. It's telling that outside of manga, Toriyama's legacy also flourished through video game collaborations, notably his character designs for Dragon Quest and Chrono Trigger. These works, brimming with fun, fantasy, and humor, represent Toriyama's personal style and passion, even more so than the supercharged combat of Dragon Ball Z. I know, that's a large statement, but that's what I'm here to deconstruct today. Toriyama is extremely important to the legacy of Shonen Jump, manga, anime, and names like Goku, Naruto, Luffy, and Ichigo, all household names throughout the West. The big three are vastly important to the continued legacy of what Dragon Ball started. The big three is also important to my channel, so don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and turn on notifications as we go over the legacy of Toriyama and his famous blueprint, and the competitors and inspirations that helped him craft it so it can go on to inspire mangaka like Oda, Kishimoto, and Kubo. By the mid-1980s, Dragon Ball's initial adventure comedy formula, a spiritual successor to Dr. Slump, had begun to lose momentum. Series creator Akira Toriyama Right and his editor Torishima Left recognized the slump, no pun intended. Torishima, who had guided Toriyama since Dr. Slump, pushed for a bold pivot in tone. He later revealed that around the end of the Pilaf saga, Dragon Ball's popularity dipped, and the story risked feeling repetitive. Torishima's solution was radical. He encouraged Toriyama to study the era's reigning action hit, Fist of the North Star, and reimagine Dragon Ball as a combat-focused manga. Toriyama, with reluctance, picked up Fist of the North Star, a far darker, more violent series than his own, and analyzed its appeal. I studied Fist of the North Star. I read up to 3 volumes. I felt it was a bit preachy. You are already dead. Children think such lines sound cool. Once I realized, I changed the direction of the action of Dragon Ball. With Torishima's guidance, Toriyama distilled a new policy for Dragon Ball. Simplify the cast, ramp up the action, and strip away anything related to comedy or deep storytelling elements. I made the story simple by reducing the number of characters, he said, shifting focus to martial arts training, which has been extremely popular ever since. Crucially, Toriyama decided to make Dragon Ball a work without substance, a purely entertaining action romp with no heavy life lessons. As Toriyama bluntly put it, there's nothing to learn by reading Dragon Ball. It's just a funny comic, and that's fine. This tongue-in-cheek rejection of preachy shonen tropes was by design. By abandoning moral sermons and embracing flashy fights and humor, Toriyama, under Torishima's direction, transformed Dragon Ball from a middling adventure into a high-octane battle shonen phenomenon. Torishima's editorial tough love had pushed Toriyama past his comfort zone, but it birthed a formula that would define shonen manga for decades to come. By 1989, Dragon Ball, or Dragon Ball Z for us in the West, had evolved into a powerhouse, but it didn't rise alone or uncontested. That era of Shonen Jump was a battlefield of titans. Fist of the North Star was ending just as Dragon Ball was beginning with the Saiyan saga. At its peak, 1983 to 1988, Fist of the North Star was the king of gritty, hyper-violent shonen, selling over 100 million copies worldwide and dominating both manga and anime ratings. It was Fist that showed the viability of serialized, action-heavy story for older boys, forcing Toriyama and the editor Torishima to pivot Dragon Ball from gag manga to combat manga during the Saiyan arc. At the same time, Saint Seiya redefined visual flair and mythological storytelling. Globally, it was a merchandising and TV juggernaut, particularly in Europe and Latin America. Saint Seiya inspired an entire generation of artists, including Bleach creator Teeth Kubo. Without the competition from Fist of the North Star and Saint Seiya, Dragon Ball wouldn't have sharpened itself into an anime and manga juggernaut. And without that rivalry, the golden age of shonen might never have crystallized into what it became. The competition created a culture of escalation, bigger battles, stronger powers, and deeper lore, which directly influenced future classics such as Yu Yu Hakusho, Rurouni Kenshin, and later, the big three, One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach. Some would tell you that Toriyama's legacy is in his artwork. Some like Oda refer to him as a god. The often cited god of Shonen had his own gods like Tezuka from Astro Boy, the animators over at Disney, and his love for martial arts films, especially those by Jackie Chan, who is the mold for Goku. Before Dragon Ball became the global titan we know today, before the Saiyan saga, before the Super Saiyan hair lit up screens, Toriyama had a different vision, one that started not with outer space, but with kung fu and comedy. In the blueprint, it was Jackie Chan. In a 2003 Shonen Jump interview, Toriyama said flat out, "If I hadn't seen Jackie Chan's Drunken Master, I would never have come up with Dragon Ball." The movie wasn't just an influence, it was the spark. Jackie's fighting style in Drunken Master, a chaotic mix of slapstick, lightning fast reflexes, and martial arts improvisation, was exactly what Toriyama wanted. Fights that were fun, unpredictable, and clever. Goku, especially in early Dragon Ball, moves like a miniature Jackie Chan, dodging attacks by accident, bouncing off of walls, and treating combat like a playground instead of a battlefield. Toriyama even got to meet Jackie in person in the mid-80s. The first thing he told him? "I used your movies as a reference when making Dragon Ball." He wasn't shy about it. He even drew Jackie's face for Birdland Press to commemorate the meeting. But Jackie's influence went deeper than just choreography. He shaped Goku's entire personality. Think about it. Goku is kind, clueless, but social norms, obsessed with food, and unconcerned with being the strongest. He fights for the joy of it, not the pride. That's Jackie Chan's cinematic DNA, what he called the lovable idiot hero. Someone humble, silly, but never to be underestimated. In fact, when asked who could ever play Goku in a live-action film, Toriyama once said, "Only Jackie Chan, nobody else." That's not just flattery, that's recognition of creative kinship. So while Fist of the North Star pushed Dragon Ball to go darker and bigger later on, the foundation, the soul of Goku was built from Jackie's movies. And here's the thing, the energy never left. Even in Dragon Ball Super, Goku still flashes that Jackie Chan smile, that cheeky attitude, that improvisational genius. He's a god-level martial artist who never lost the joy of a good spar. Jackie didn't just influence Goku, he is Goku in spirit, and Dragon Ball, at its heart, is a kung fu comedy that grew up but never grew old. Toriyama's blueprint is a culmination of lessons, humblings, and compromises within his style, shaped by input from editors like Torishima, turning Dragon Ball into a global phenomenon. So what exactly was this Toriyama formula that emerged from Dragon Ball's evolution? In broad strokes, Toriyama, with Torishima, pioneered a blueprint featuring several key elements. A humble, relatable protagonist. The hero is often a simple, pure-hearted underdog with hidden potential. Goku begins as an innocent kid from the mountains, no lineage or greatness apparent at first, which makes his growth compelling. This archetype, the cheerful, everyman hero who doesn't seek glory, became a model for later shonen leads. Then you have escalating challenges and journey structure. Rather than a static goal of the week format, Dragon Ball introduced escalating stakes through sagas, from worldwide tournaments to intergalactic threats. The story structure takes the hero on an epic journey, facing progressively tougher foes. This gave readers a sense of constant progression and adventure. You also have power scaling and transformations. Toriyama introduced the idea that characters could dramatically raise their power through training or emotional breakthroughs, famously depicted by transformations like Super Saiyan. Each arch villain will outclass the last, demanding the hero to attain a new level. This power escalation and the visual spectacle of transformations became a staple in shonen storytelling. Last, you have balanced tone, high stakes with comic relief. Even as Dragon Ball's battles grew more intense, Toriyama never lost his sense of humor. He peppered serious arcs with comic relief, from Goku's goofy personality and misadventures to absurd side characters like Master Roshi or Hercule. This mix of action and comedy kept the tone fun and accessible. Toriyama's ability to switch gears, cracking a joke one moment and unleashing an earth-shattering Kamehameha the next, became a defining feature of his formula. These ingredients, a likable underdog hero, a journey of rising challenges, ever-increasing power, and a dose of silliness, form the Toriyama formula, or the Toriyama blueprint. It struck a chord with readers worldwide. By the end of Dragon Ball's run, this approach had proven so successful that it set the template for an entire generation of shonen manga that followed. But there is always a fall off. With the legends of the past fading and the last of the titans from the 80s finally ending, Jump needed new hope, as there was a severe downturn after 1996. But the price of peaking early was steep. When Dragon Ball ended its manga run in June 1995, with its final chapter published in early 1996, weekly Shonen Jump circulation began to plummet. In 1994, Jump peaked at 6.5 million copies sold weekly. But from 1996 to 1997, after Dragon Ball ended, sales dropped down to 4.4 million. And then by the turn of the century, sales fell even further, bottoming out at 3.2 million. Despite strong efforts from Yu-Gi-Oh!, Kenshin, and Hunter x Hunter, none could fill the void left by Goku. It wasn't until the 2000s and the rise of the big three that Jump found stable ground again.
It is too early. The hole is too big. Sadness washes over me when I think that I will never see him again. I have admired him so much since I was a child. I remember the day he called me by name for the first time. I remember the last conversation we had.
Kishimoto, Kubo, and Oda all show respect, admiration, and even speak of Toriyama's influence, but no other mangaka took up the blueprint of Toriyama better than One Piece's Eiichiro Oda, who revolutionizes the blueprint by bringing it back to its core, with Toriyama's comedic adventure style of storytelling while keeping the heightened action of Dragon Ball Z for key fights. One Piece, in some ways, is the ultimate love letter to Dragon Ball. Don't let me tell you, let's break down Oda and Toriyama's interview together. Oda grew up with Dragon Ball, and in 2011 issue of Weekly Shonen Jump, he said plainly, "My biggest influence is Akira Toriyama and his series Dragon Ball." That same issue states he modeled Luffy's manliness after Goku's. It's not subtle, it's intentional. Even before One Piece debuted, Oda acknowledged early how he dreamed up pirates. He replied that his true childhood influence was Goku, not treasure maps. Their mutual respect culminated in 2007 crossover one-shot Cross Epoch, where Goku and Luffy finally met, a real-world handshake across universes. Oda has been clear, he never set out to outrun Toriyama. Instead, he said in that same Jump interview that he recognized Dragon Ball as the gold standard, but that didn't stop him from crafting his own legacy. He once admitted One Piece was built as a spiritual successor, not a competitor, an evolution of what Toriyama began with his original blueprint. Oda's ambition wasn't beat Toriyama, it was to stand beside him.
As I grew up with Dr. Slump and Dragon Ball in school, even when I had a bad experience, seeing Dragon Ball made me forget it. It was relief for me. When I started college, Dragon Ball ended, and I felt an incredible sense of loss.
Kishimoto has always given it up to Toriyama. He said it plainly, Toriyama is the reason he even became a mangaka in the first place. It started with Dr. Slump, and then Dragon Ball hit, and that was it. Kishimoto was hooked. He's talked about being in elementary school, flipping through those pages, and just being blown away by how expressive and fun the art was. The word he used was cartoony, but in the best way possible, the looseness and the fluidity it gave him a North Star. I thought to myself, I want to become like Toriyama sensei, he states. From there, you can see the DNA. Kishimoto pulls so much from Toriyama's style, those dynamic panel layouts, that blend of intense action with sudden comedic timing, the way emotion is worn right on the sleeve. Naruto himself, that's Kishimoto doing his version of Goku. He said he designed Naruto to be simple and stupid on purpose because that kind of cheerful foolishness is what made Goku so magnetic. But Kishimoto didn't just copy, he internalized the spirit. Goku's got that raw, untamed energy and innocent, Curiosity and Naruto carries that same vibe, but with a more emotional edge. A kid rejected by the world who still finds joy in ramen and dumb jokes. It's homage and evolution at the same time. And here's the part people forget. Toriyama supported the new gen. He wrote a comment congratulating Kishimoto when Naruto ended, calling it a job well done, and expressing how proud he was of how far it had come. That wasn't just a senior tipping his hat, it was a metaphorical passing of a torch. Kishimoto might have grown up with Dragon Ball, but Naruto became the next legend in line.
Personally, I don't feel any loneliness or pain. I'm not saying there aren't any at all, but there aren't as many as I thought. It's the death of someone I've read since I was a child, someone who works in the same magazine as me, and someone I'm deeply influenced by. So it feels different than when I deal with death in general, but that's why I feel like it doesn't exist.
And every family has their black sheep. Teeth Kubo didn't stumble into the supernatural world of Bleach by accident. It was a product of two lifelong obsessions. First, in that classic 2007 interview with Shonen Jump, Kubo revealed his artistic roots. My number one favorite manga then was Gigigi no Kataru. I've always liked the yokai in that series. Those creepy, expressive spirits sparked Kubo's fascination with the spirit world. Second, there was Saint Seiya. The epic armor and weapon designs by Masame Kurumada caught his imagination. The characters all wear armor and have interesting weapons, he stated. That led directly to Bleach's Shinigami robes and Zanpakuto, blending supernatural style with battle elegance. But Kubo was also deeply shaped by Dragon Ball, especially in how villains should operate. He once said, "Dragon Ball taught me that villains must be strong, scary, and cool without exception. No other scene shocked me more than Trunks' first appearance." Toriyama's style of epic villains echoes in Bleach's Arrancar, Espada, Aizen, the Stern Ritter, and Yhwach. One industry story goes that after Kubo submitted his early one-shot, Dragon Ball's creator Akira Toriyama wrote him a letter of encouragement, a gesture that helped Kubo push through and get Bleach serialized. Kubo has later expressed deep admiration for Toriyama's art and storytelling, citing Dragon Ball as the reason he became a mangaka in the first place. One Piece is still running, but we are in a new territory with Shonen, and once again, the formulas are evolving, with Bleach often being cited as the father of the new generation, which is okay. Formulas should evolve with time, but legacies will remain. Toriyama is seen as a god amongst mangaka, and his works have become a global hit. And even with the formula changing, the lessons he took from competition like Saint Seiya and Fist of the North Star helped him evolve and give Shonen a formula that has stood the test of time and have inspired hundreds of manga artists. I hope this video helped bridge some gaps in the anime landscape, because it's all interconnected. Like I said, our gods of today stand on the shoulders of their gods of yesterday. Shonen is interconnected. I believe it's amazing when you can see the influence from legends of previous generations carrying on into the next. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for stopping by the cafe. Subscribe, turn on alerts to stay caught up, and drop a like on the video. Peace out, Zealots.